Aloha Kako, and welcome immediately back to Just&True. Just posted a video about maybe 5-10 minutes ago, but I needed to make this one real quick because I'm going through the news and a lot has been happening. I should have read the entire news feed. I should have got all my ducks in a row before I made a video, but I kind of like 5-minute videos as opposed to 10, 15, or even 30, just in and out pretty quick. You guys can cut me off at any moment. It's awesome. So the reason I wanted to make this video is because I've been focusing a lot in Venezuela lately, and there has been, of course, tons going on in South China Sea as well. And last night, there was a first in the South China Sea in the disputed areas of the Parcel Islands. Parcel Islands chains are one of the three island chains down there that are very disputed between China, the Philippines, I believe, and Brunei. So the last 24 hours, for the very first time, the USS Navy, or the United States Navy rather, met up with the British Royal Fleet. It was the British Royal USS Destroyer Argyle, and it was the US guided missile destroyer, the McCampbell, and they met up and did a freedom of navigation operation within the Parcel Islands, within about, I think it was a couple clicks, maybe 5 clicks within the Parcel Islands. This got China amped up. Now this means a lot to me for a couple of reasons. First of all, we've never done a freedom of navigation operation in the South China Sea with the Royal Navy before. This is a first. We've never had a freedom of navigation operation with the British Navy ever within this region. So that's huge. And at the same time, don't forget we're doing the same thing in the Black Sea. So there's a lot going on with the United States and Britain. We don't usually use them as an ally like this so actively, so that's got me raising my eyebrow. The other thing with this that makes it very interesting is they both sent medium to small sized vessels. Now, they're not tooting this around, but if you look at the vessels that they used small destroyers, medium-sized destroyers, I should say. The U.S. McCampbell's medium-sized guided missile system destroyer, and the Argyle is a smaller, it's a medium-sized, sorry for the shaky camera, I know, I'm apologizing, but I have to get to work, so I'm making this as quick as possible. And then the Argyle is a medium-sized destroyer, and it is the same guided missile system, basically. So the reason they're doing this, first of all, they're small crafts, because they're taking China's threats very seriously. If you remember, within the last week, China put out their ZY-26s, their basically destroyer busters. These things are made to destroy carrier busters. These things are made to destroy carriers, large ships. So they're basically modified ICBMs that are made to go up very high with very long distance and fall almost directly down onto a large carrier. Carriers are extremely hard to sink. You can beat them up a lot before they go down. And they know that it is the backbone of the United States. It gives us the most Navy. It gives us the most striking potential through any of our vessels, including our subs, much more of a strike capability. So they lined the shores, the coast of the South China Sea for kilometers. I mean, this is for, I think they put out more than 100 of these things, these really incredibly strong and complicated, complex anti-carrier systems along that coast. So how does the United States respond? They don't respond by putting out carriers, because they literally just, China came out and threatened, we will sink carriers if we see you in the South China Sea, and then they put these carrier killers on their coast. Now, if the United States wasn't taking these threats seriously, they would have just strolled through with their carriers, which they probably wouldn't see any problem with. But instead, they bring a small or medium-sized missile-guided destroyer. And not only that, so they fall within that, they change the size of their freedom of navigation operation ships that they're using, or they're planning on using, and now they brought a buddy, almost as if they're trying to get a witness if anything does go bad, and they're actually taking a potential threat from China very seriously. So we brought the British Navy, which again we're doing up in the Black Sea, and we're doing that with NATO ships as well. And at the same time, the English Navy is battling a territorial dispute with Gibraltar. If you guys haven't heard about that, Gibraltar's trying to get their land back. Way to go, Gibraltar. Right there with you, bud. Hawaiians, you should be next. So what I'm just trying to say is this threat with China has, over the last 72 hours maybe, escalated a bunch, because not only are we responding with very particular craft that fits the necessary criteria to validate Chinese threats, that at least we know our government and military are taking them seriously. It has been confirmed that they have ICBMs on these islands, on these man-made islands, and on their territorial disputed islands. It has been confirmed that they have surface-to-air missiles on the island, tons of surface-to-air missiles, so they really were feeling a threat from these carriers, I believe. So it's huge news. We are doing freedom of navigation operations with the British Navy throughout disputed South China Sea right now. And at the very same time, and we're doing it to make sure nothing goes wrong. We're preparing for war to keep the peace. Does that make sense to you guys? And so we're shoving these destroyers right down China's fucking neck, and we're just egging these guys on. And at the same time, they said it was 3, but I doubt it was 3. It was probably more than 3 B-2s down here to Hawaii. They landed in Pearl Harbor. They say that they landed in Hickam Air Force Base, Joint Hickam Pearl Harbor Base. It's an Air Force naval base. They say they landed there and stayed there, and they're still there. The reason they did that is because they were afraid that if they sent them to Guam openly, China would say, oh, hell's no, and respond accordingly. They really have a long strike range and strike capabilities, but if I was the United States government and the United States military, I would send them over to Guam. It's the biggest base. They usually go over there anyway. The only reason they're not going over there right now, and it's closer to China, and it has more strike potential, strike capabilities, it's in the prime location. The only reason they're not doing it now is because tensions are so high with China. So I'm going to just go ahead and guess that they left Pearl Harbor, that they're over in Guam, and the only reason we don't know about it, or Hickam, and the only reason we don't know about it is because it would piss off China entirely. So the second they find there's B-2s in Guam, their backyard, they're going to flip the frigate out, pun intended. So we'll see how this is going. We're shoving B-2s down their neck. We're shoving freedom of navigation operations down their neck with allies, and we're saying that we're doing this to not intimidate them, or we're doing this to intimidate them because intimidating them apparently will make them calm down. So how do you feel if I just came at you and I was like, what, do something, punk, what? Started flexing in front of you, and started like pumping my chest and getting up at you, and I was doing that to make sure that you weren't going to hit me. Does that make any sense? No, that doesn't make any sense at all. So people of the United States, you need to keep your government, we need to keep our government in check. We need to have these discussions, we need to stay calm while we're discussing them, and don't give me this, we're gonna blow up China, there's nothing they can do. That's not right. That's not the discussion we need to have. We need to have a discussion how we can have less war, less violence, okay, and how we are honestly doing things that if any other country would do, we would annihilate them. Like Iran just said, we're going to be going in your Atlantic. The second we can reach your Atlantic, we're going to be around the Atlantic. And we're going to be doing that because you're in the Gulf. So they're acting in accordance to our moves. They're acting in accordance to our aggression. And if we want there to be less aggression in the world, we need to be less aggressive. It's very simple. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. And until next time.